Hello, my name is Larissa. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is the second video where I'm talking about what I consider to be the main difference between the Latin culture and the American culture. In the first video, I was talking about the two main ideologies that were brought from Europe to America. For more details, you can watch the first video, but a summary is this. The two ideologies were the Protestants, the followers of Martin Luther, and the ideology of the Catholic Church, which at the time was very influenced by the ideology of the Inquisition. So, the ideology of the Protestants takes the power away from authority figures, places it on the principles, and makes it accessible to the people. So, this ideology empowers the individual. The ideology of the Catholic Church, on the other hand, the power is on the authority figures. In other words, people with ecclesiastical authority are in charge of administering the love and forgiveness of God. So this ideology doesn't really empower the individual. There's also another thing. The journey of Jesus, of course, is a very complex one, but it has two main aspects, the crucifixion and the resurrection. When the Catholic Church brought this religion to America, and I don't know if they did this consciously or unconsciously, but in my opinion, they placed a strong emphasis on the crucifixion and not so much on the resurrection. It is as if they made two movies about the life of Jesus, the prequel, the crucifixion, and the sequel, the resurrection. And it is as if in Latin America, we only got the prequel. We only got the Jesus Crisis movie, and we didn't get the resurrection, or that movie didn't get good distribution. If you go to the majority of the churches and cathedrals in Latin America, the visual narrative is saturated with the imagery of the crucifixion. At least that was my experience when I was growing up. The ideology of the Protestants, on the other hand, because they're telling the full story of Jesus, in my opinion, they placed an emphasis on the resurrection. In other words, the goal of the spiritual journey is to be resurrected, symbolically or literally, through the power of the Holy Spirit. So, two very different ideologies. The Protestants, the ideology of the Protestants, empowers the individual, has an emphasis on the resurrection. The ideology of the Catholic Church, which at the time was very influenced by the ideology of the Inquisition, doesn't really empower the individual, and it places an emphasis on the crucifixion. Now, I would like to say this. The Catholic Church has had wonderful representatives, people who have written and done lovely things, like St. Francis of Assisi, St. Francis of Sales, St. Thomas of Aquin, brilliant man, and Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz, super talented writer. And the Catholic Church has done some lovely things. The Inquisition wasn't one of them, and that's the ideology we inherited in Latin America, and it's the gift that keeps on giving. So I think it's important to analyze its negative consequences, but I digress. So the ideology of the Protestants was brought to the United States, the ideology of the Catholic Church was brought to Latin America. And in my opinion, these two ideologies have altered the course of these two cultures from the big things like the political destinies, economic decisions, social mobility, and so on, to the smallest, most mundane of human interactions. Let's talk about a few examples, shall we? The first example is this. It refers to political things. For instance, when the United States goes through a crisis, you hear the politicians say things like, we're going to pick ourselves up, we're going to dust ourselves off, and mark my words, we will recover from this obstacle. And they work really hard at it because they believe that the goal of the journey is to be symbolically resurrected, to overcome the obstacles. In the Latin culture, on the other hand, when you hear the politicians trying to implement changes, they say things like, vamos a morir luchando y sin lucha habrá muerte, which means like, we're gonna die fighting, and if we don't fight, we die. So you see, you hear you feel, in my opinion, you feel the echo of the crucifixion, and it's this sort of subconscious way of reenacting this ritual with which we have been infused from the beginning of our culture, and we subconsciously reenacted in ways we're not even aware of. So two very different psychological postures as a result of two very different ideologies. Another example, a more mundane example, soap operas. What could be more mundane than that? So you watch the Latin soap operas, the telenovelas, and the main character says things like, "Ay, Lupita, no sé por qué lo quiero tanto. Si me ha hecho tanto daño. I don't know why I love him so much, if he has hurt me so deeply." And then you hear the music. It's like a cacophony of out-of-tune instruments. And then you see the commercials. Esta noche a las 7, 9 Centro, por su canal. And you grab the control, you're like, you flip the channel and you watch the American soap operas, and the main character says things like, he broke my heart. He destroyed my life for 2.5 hours. And now this empire is mine. Come, Shannon, look out the window. All this belongs to me. And then you hear the music. Da, 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 da. And then you see the commercials, and they're like, see? In the first one, you hear the echo of the crucifixion and the nobility in suffering. In the second one, the American soap operas, she suffered for 2.5 hours, but then she recovers. The goal is to recover from the obstacles. Symbolic resurrection. See? Very different ideologies. Another example, and this is more about the celebration of the individual in a simple daily activity. You go shopping, you go to the supermarket in the United States, and let's say somebody bumps onto you, and they go like, "Excuse me, my apologies." And then you say, "No, it's okay, that's fine." No, it's not okay. And then they grab a bunch of wipes, they clean up your shopping cart, and you're like, "Oh, wow, thank you. I came to buy mayonnaise, but now I feel like a queen." In the Latin culture, on the other hand, you go shopping, somebody bumps onto you, and they go like, "Mira, mijita, quítate del medio, estás más atravesada que un miércoles." Like, move out of the way. Very different. In the American culture, they don't care if you have money, if you have power. You're an individual. You deserve to be treated with respect. In the Latin culture, they could treat you with respect, but then you have to become an authority figure of some sort. You have to have some sort of power, political power, economic power, some form of power that will guarantee you the respect. I'm talking in the society at large. But just because you were born and just because you're an individual, nah, not enough. That's been my experience. Yes. So these are some examples, and in the next video, I'm going to talk about 3 specific social practices that are very different in the two cultures, and that I think are also a consequence of these 2 different ideologies. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.